So the more observant among you might have noticed, I'm sat in a completely different location. Ignore this is where all my makeup lives. This is where my face is. But yeah, I moved house. So therefore, I'm going to be making a video about moving house and why it's shit. Step number one, what I did was when I decided I was moving, I went through all the crap I had in my old house and just got rid of all the stuff I didn't want to take with me. And I ended up with 5 bin bags full of shit. Like, you know when you buy a new pair of shoes and you think, oh, I'll keep the box for that just in case. And you don't really know what to do with it, so you just hide it under your bed and hope that it ceases to exist. Well, it doesn't cease to exist. It's still there. And that was probably why I ended up with 5 bin bags. I also found, underneath my bed while I was clearing it out, I found my fucking deed poll, which I lost. So now I have 2 deed polls, which is great. So at least I found that bit right. Now, the day that you actually move house, generally it's exciting. I was excited. I've been thinking about this day all fucking week. So on the day I woke up, very excited to move house. And the way I was going to do it was, I was just going to make like 6 trips in my Nissan Micra, and my mum was going to help and put stuff in her car, because I don't trust myself to drive a van, nor do I want to pay the money to hire a van. Now, on paper, this seemed pretty reasonable, because I didn't think I had that much stuff. I thought, oh, 2 trips is my aim. It's probably going to end up being 3 trips, but I'm hoping for 2. Spoiler alert, it was not 2 trips. You start off with the day being really optimistic, you know, you're putting things in the car, you're thinking, oh yeah, this is definitely all going to fit. I'm going to be done by 5 o'clock in the evening. This is going to go so great. And then you fill up the car a lot more quickly than you expect to fill up the car. And you just stood there, losing the will to live, in the middle of your old bedroom, like, how did I accumulate this much shit? Because we all have that point, right? I certainly had this point where halfway through the moving process, I just kind of lost the will to live. I lost the will to carry on. I started off with such good intentions, but when you've just got like 7 more random bags and a car completely packed to the rafters, and you just don't know how to continue on, I had one of those moments, and which is why I ended up making like 17 trips. And then once you've finally got all your boxes in, then you just stood there in a brand new house with all your stuff on the floor in random bags, like, what do I do with any of this? Like, at the first part, it's fun, right? Decorating things, like, oh, I've got this lamp and I'll put it on this table. But then you get to the point where you're left with like a random box full of shit and you just don't have any room to put it anywhere. Like, you've got nowhere left in the house that makes sense for it to go. Because I ended up with that, like a random box of stuff that had perfect places in my old house, but I just didn't know how to translate that into my new house. And I don't know about you, but on that day, you know what I was running off? I had a Kit Kat, I had a grenade bar, and I had like half a Monster. That was my lot, because I didn't have time to fucking stop and have a meal. Because of the way my brain works, I'm quite obsessive about these things. Like, once I start something, I'm not going to take a pause. I do things all in one, you know? If I start something, I have got to finish it. So that was why I just was, by the end of the day, I felt like I was gonna die. And when you finally have finished, you know, I do it all in one. You've finally finished moving all of your stuff into this new house. Everything's got a reasonable place. And then you're just kind of left with this feeling of, shit, what do I do now? Because that was most certainly what I had. I'd spent the whole day packing and moving and deciding where everything goes. But then once all that's finished, you're just here in the new house with nothing left to do. And you just kind of have to figure out how to exist in the new house. And then of course, it's not all over from there, because it's a new house with new things like a different shower and different taps and a different heating system, and you've got to learn how all of that works again. Like, in my old house, the first night I had a cold shower because I didn't know how to make it hot, and the dial was like, it had no kind of easy markings on it. It was just kind of turn it on and guess. But luckily, I didn't have that problem this time. But you get my point, right? You just don't know how anything works anymore, or where you put anything. I had that problem the next day. I was going to work and I was trying to find my skirt, and I knew I'd taken it with me and I knew I'd unpacked it, but where I'd actually put that skirt, I had no idea. I spent like 10 minutes searching around my new house going, where the fuck did I put that skirt? And I've been doing that like all week, to be perfectly honest, because I've put things in, like at the time where I put these things, perfect sense, but now that I'm settled in, where I thought I put them, I didn't. So I'm just wandering around like, has anyone seen my belts? Because I certainly have not. And then of course you've got the problem of driving there, if you drive, because the first night I came home from work, I almost missed the turning. Like, I'm moving to an area that's still kind of in the same area that I've always really lived in, but the road that leads to my house is not like a main road. It's like a very small road that you'd kind of miss if you weren't looking for it. So the first night I was coming home from work, I just drove right past. So you just generally spend weeks going, where do I live? I don't know. Or if someone asks you what your address is, you just kind of sat there like, haven't got a fucking clue, mate. Give me 10 minutes to figure out where I wrote it down on my phone. Let me know if this is a good place to film from, because I could film in multiple different places, but I'm currently sat in front of a window on the floor. For some reason, I'm one of those people, I always sit on the floor, even though I have plenty of chairs to sit on. I decide the floor's the best option. But yeah, like the video, subscribe, please. I do not know what has happened to my upload schedule, because I did have one, and then I got really busy and just didn't post for like a month. But anyway, this video is here now. You are welcome. Goodbye.